Are you a business owner looking for real advice and input? You're in the right place. From concept to launch to growth, funding, and beyond. Welcome to Startup Hustle with your hosts. One once sold a business for $150 million. The other, the author of $1 Million Bedroom. Here are your hosts of Startup Hustle, Matt DeCoursey and Matt Watson.
And we're back. Matt DeCoursey here with another episode of Startup Hustle, sitting in for Matt Watson today. I've got Alex Springer and Steve Gardner, who I will introduce momentarily. Before we get started, I want to get the heavy lifting out of the way. Today's episode of Startup Hustle is brought to you by Fullscale.io, where we can help you build a development team quickly and affordably. Now, we're going to talk about some fun and interesting stuff today, and that is startup accelerators. I previously mentioned that Alex Springer and Steve Gardner are my guests today. They are with BCP Tech. Hi, guys.
Good morning.
How you doing, Matt?
I'm just getting through another day. I love this topic, and especially the one we're talking about today, because I actually am involved with this as well. So,
yes, you are.
Yeah.
We're excited about it.
Not on the level that you guys are, but I mentioned the term startup accelerator, and that has a very wide definition for a lot of people, but this particular one is an extension of the LaunchKC Accelerator, in which my company Fullscale is the official development partner. We have had Jim Malley and Don Peterson in here talking about some of the other cohorts, but there are multiple episodes in which I have praised the approach that LaunchKC is taking. If you want to know what I'm talking about, go to launchkc.org and you can apply to be a company in the accelerator. And now let's talk about all the great stuff that you will get if accepted. Which one of you wants to take the lead on talking about BCP Tech?
Yeah, I can go. So BCP Tech is the technology arm of Brush Creek Partners, which is a full-service independent insurance brokerage here in Kansas City. And BCP Tech is tasked with heading this Insurance Tech Accelerator. And so for 75 days, we're going to be scaling technology startups, and we're looking for people that have technology that will improve efficiencies within the broker rather than the carrier. And so we're really focused on that independent agency product.
Yeah. So when we say InsurTech, if you have a software or any type of product that helps the insurance business and is technology related, then you should probably give it a whirl and apply, right?
Yeah, it's a great place to start. I mean, it's we do have a fairly specific niche. So we're obviously, as Alex said, it's commercial P&C tech that's going to specifically benefit the brokers as opposed to the carriers. But yeah, if you've got something and it can be in any way that is where it's going to benefit the broker, so something that decreases workers' comp claims, for example, could be a benefit. Like there's a lot of different categories.
Process automation, client onboarding, integrating with different insurance providers. And let's talk about that for a second, because this is an arm of Brush Creek Partners. And if you go to brushkc.com, they do business insurance for, businesses like mine. We use Brush Creek Partners. You guys are our insurance broker. And with that, one of the founders, Travis Holt, took a personal approach with helping us, and he had known Matt Watson through Stackify. But yeah, helping businesses find tailor-made insurance needs. It's not like going to Geico where you're like, my Dodge truck and I need this minimum amount of coverage. And, it's good to have an idea about what you need and what you don't need. And you guys have done a really great job at helping us get stuff set up, because we do business all over the world. And that has a different set of needs. And then when we provide services for other clients, we need other types of protection. So yeah.
Well, that's great to hear.
Yeah. Brush Creek KC.
Yeah.
Or Brush KC. So back to the accelerator now, BCP Tech, and that this is an arm of the Brush Creek empire.
Yeah.
But specifically to help work and manage with these companies. And how did that come about? And what made you as a company or even individuals want to participate in LaunchKC?
I think Travis Holt and Nathan Kurtz, the COO at Brush Creek, they just kind of had this vision of wanting to be on the front line of the next big product within insurance. and Kansas City's growing within the insurance industry, and they kind of just want to be on the forefront of that. So both of us were approached by Nathan Kurtz, and we think this is awesome, and we wanted to be a part of this.
Yeah, it's when you take a look at the kind of opportunities that we've got, certainly for Brush Creek as in comparison to many, a smaller insurance company, they need to know the latest and greatest technologies that are out there right now, because that's how they are going to grow their business. So if they have access to the greatest technologies right out of the gate, that's going to make a very profound business opportunity for them available. So it's a really critical piece, and I love what LaunchKC is doing, because to make this an opportunity within specific industry verticals, as they've hit a number of them so far. This is a really massive ecosystem play within the entrepreneurial world of Kansas City, certainly, which I think is doing amazing work for entrepreneurs.
No, you don't need to be from Kansas City or in Kansas City to apply for LaunchKC. I want to clarify that. No, I've spent a lot of time talking about how I just love the pivot that LaunchKC made. So in prior years to last year, so EDC, you talk about wanting to develop economics within your, is it KC or something? You say it a bunch of times.
EDC, KC.
Yeah. See that kind of, say that 5 times in a row.
No thanks.
And you win a prize. But I've spent a lot of time in past episodes talking about local things. So whether you're in Kansas City and this applies to you, or you're from outside of KC and you want to apply, there's probably something near you that does stuff like this. And this is a great way to get things started. Now, one of the things that I have talked about with this is sometimes the quote accelerator can be a little misunderstood, because they exist on different levels. Now, this particular one is looking for companies that aren't literally in concept or like early stage. And that's actually what I like the most about it. So they want to find companies that are Series A ready or on that path.
Yeah. So to me, I'm real big on definition of terms. And so a lot of times people will say, oh, well, I'm going to do an incubator and I'm going to do an accelerator. And those are not different. Those are different things.
Yeah, way different.
So an incubator is I have an idea on the back of a napkin and I need somebody to help me turn this thing into maybe a company.
Yeah. And I've had that discussion not only with the people at LaunchKC, but others, because it's just it's a misunderstood term in many ways. So in prior years, so last year, LaunchKC gave out $10,000 to $12,000, $50,000 grants. And that's money that came from the city or wherever they got it. And that's fine. And that's good. And thank you for doing that. But what they did is with this last year, they made a different improvement, and they're finding top level partners. So BCP Tech is an example. And you guys sit on top of what they call a cohort, which will be anywhere from maybe 5 to 7 companies. Mm-hmm. They want you to invest in those companies at least a $50,000 level, sometimes more. And then they find other ones. And so then how is Full Scale involved? Well, we've committed to give $10,000 in development credit to anybody on a LaunchKC cohort.
Yep.
So they find some other stuff and some value added, like, okay, now we're up to $60,000 in value and different stuff. And, the reason that's, and then there's also, you mentioned that 75-day period. Some teaching, some input, and we'll talk about that in a second. But with this pivot, LaunchKC is they're running more businesses through. The $50,000 grant is great, but I'd rather have $50,000 from someone that has a direct line of sight for the solution that I'm trying to provide. And in this case, it's insurance technology. And you mentioned that's a win-win, because you guys get a shot now. So you put $50,000 into something and maybe it's kind of early stage. Well, having a powerful partner or someone that's already in your industry, that's smart money now. And you guys could theoretically see these solutions and say, oh man, I've been waiting for this for a while. Now you put it in play. Now you're able to help move that needle. Yeah. And if you're listening, that's what you should be looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is kind of like the grants that were given out, the $12,000, $50,000 grants, is basically, it's kind of like giving someone a new car that has no gas in it.
Sure.
And we're a gas station. We're not just a tank of gas, but we're a gas station. So we're going to continue to fill that car up for a while. and we're going to get you involved in so many different things, whether it's the financing and operations and VCs. Obviously, that turns into a part of it.
Introduction to clients, users,
and the revenue generation. And for us, like the revenue generation is a really critical piece to this. So we actually have a partnership with a group called TechAssure, which is a large group of independent insurance agencies around the country and even around the world. And so much of our focus is really on how do we take these companies that have an MVP that are like seed to Series A, somewhere in there generally. And now how do we really make sure that we're getting them in front of customers? And so we are bringing this huge body of beta customers and people who will actually be revenue generating, because while we do have a demo day at the end of it, just like many people do, for us, we're big believers that ultimately best way to get investment is to generate revenue. Because obviously a lot of companies kind of spend all their time conceptualizing and theorizing about.
You mean wait? You mean we don't just raise money perpetually?
No.
So Steve, I've had way too many conversations with startup people, founders on all levels, and it's like, we're trying to raise money, blah 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 blah. I'm like, you could try to sell something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because in the end, it's always going to come down to that.
Well, and I think one of the most critical pieces of all of that really does come down to the self-awareness of the founder or the founder team. Because what we find often with a lot of these companies that are in accelerator mode, they've got an idea, they've done something, they're getting maybe a little bit of customer feedback, but they tend to be really good technically.
And they don't know how to sell anything.
Yeah, so they're really great at that. And then like we've had conversations with founders and literally they go on for 30 minutes and then at the very end of it they give us a 15-second blurb and we're like, all you had to do was say that at the very beginning and we would have known exactly what was going on.
Well, what I run into a lot when I'm talking to folks like this, sometimes right here on the podcast, or also talking to them about potentially helping them with this tech services company at Full Scale, the mistake that a lot of people make that when they're quote tech people is they talk about the features. They're like feature, and really what all the client or the end buyer wants to hear is benefit. Right. And so it's one thing to build a feature, but you don't truly understand your why if you don't understand the benefit that it provides, because whether you know it or you're going to find it out eventually. People don't give a shit about your features. They care about the benefits because everyone's saying, what's in it for me? And the benefit is different. And sometimes it's way different than what you think you built the quote feature for. Peace of mind. Put a price on that for me, guys. Yeah. Because if you can give me peace of mind with your product, I'll pay a lot of a pretty high price. Yeah. And that's my point, is that's the benefit. And sometimes that comes down to the simple presentation. They're like, we have these 9 features that increase 12 different types of efficiency in the office. How about this? Added peace of mind with your office staff. Oh, I get it now. Okay, because I'm tired of them yelling at me. Yeah, I'm in. Yeah, and that's my kind of that's my kind of reception to that. Now there are a lot of people that want to see the whole feature list and understand that. Fine, sure, but that's about half.
That's the technical sales, which is. Quite frankly,
they still want to know the benefits.
Small. Yeah, they still want to know the benefits. But at the end of the day, that does, again, that's where the self-awareness comes in. Because look, if you know you're really great technically, and like you can write great code and build great products and all that, that's a cool, very important piece. And you may have some really good ideas about what you think customers are going to see. But at the end of the day, do you know how to actually speak the customer's language? Yeah. Do you know how to talk benefits? Do you know how to actually show them, here's exactly how I'm going to solve your pain, as opposed to, let me tell you about the 17 lines of code I wrote this morning and how it's the best code you've ever seen.
Dodude, that's important, but in the end, no one cares.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I've spent too much time. No one cares about the elegance of your code. They care if it works and how does it benefit? Yeah. Does it help me sell more? Does it help me spend less? Preferably both. Yeah. And then you have those intangibles like peace of mind. Does this make my life easier? Where do I gain? And that's the thing that many people fail with with their sales message. You also talk about you mentioned that 15 seconds at the end of it. If I had a product that could increase peace of mind in your office, would you listen to me for the next couple minutes? And people are, like that shouldn't be the thing you end with. So, yeah. Okay. So one of the cool things with accelerators and stuff like this is kind of the quote subject matter that comes with it. We just covered one little piece, like helping you become a little more self-aware about your selling. What do you have planned for the cohorts, or basically when it comes to the advice and the how are you going to help me accelerate my insurance tech?
Yeah. You want me to take that?
I can touch on it a little bit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, they'll be in town for the 75 days. We asked that they'll be here Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. That way we can have, we've lined up industry experts across the board for all walks of business. And with them being here, they'll be able to meet with these mentors and go through a day or a workshop with them and be able to grow in that sense. And so we're just developing our program with all these mentors to kind of mold them and shape them as an individual, and then also for their business.
Yeah. And I mean, basically, like our job for Alex and I, our job is to literally be in the trenches with them while they are in town and trying to grow their businesses. And like you said, we're not insurance guys. Like I'm especially not an insurance guy. That's not my background. And so we have plenty of insurance experts who are going to come in. NAIC is a group that they're going to provide some content. We have a bunch of other experts and mentors who have been involved in other insurance accelerators around the country that are also going to be a part of our mentorship and our expertise that we're delivering. So a lot of it is programmatically, we'll hit a number of buckets. But again, a big focus for us as an accelerator is around revenue.
Yeah.
So how do we help you generate revenue? So a lot of our time is going to be, okay, we're going to be working with insurance agencies. We're going to be talking about how do they buy? What are they looking for? What are the kinds of issues that they're dealing with internally that are real pain points? So we're going to be talking about a lot of that, and then working with the agencies and getting iterative feedback from them so that the agencies are saying, hey, well, we tried this and this didn't work, or we really love that, or, maybe tweak this, or, so we're really creating a very powerful opportunity on that side. So yeah, content wise, obviously there's going to be plenty of things that'll just pop up in the moment. Someone will say, hey, how do I fix this? And if Alex or I can't fix it, then we'll say, okay, we got to get someone in. So we'll help them address that issue. But generally, certainly it's business specific, it's leadership, it's sales, it's a lot of that kind of stuff. Certainly the team building, the HR, some of those kinds of issues. But then we'll dive into a lot of very insurance industry heavy and very specific content as well with our experts.
Yeah, I'll set out of those sessions.
I think we might too. I
always joke with insurance. It's like one of those things that you got to have, but you hope you never use.
Yeah.
And it's also one of those things, and you talk about insurance technology and all that. Insurance is also something I don't want to talk about. No. Meaning, like, I don't want to spend much, if any, of my time ever.
Yeah.
Like my bandwidth from that on that as a business owner, if it goes past like a fraction of a point annually, I'm like, why am I even talking to you about this? But I mentioned, you go to brushkc.com. That's what Brush Creek Partners helped us with. And that's, talking to an expert, like, what do I exactly need here? Or what do you recommend? Right. And that's that expertise that, as a business, it's kind of difficult to get a turnkey on that.
Yeah. Well, and I think a big part of that problem really comes down to the fact that kind of the same issues that we're talking about here. A lot of people in the insurance industry are so focused on features and not benefits, so that when they come in to talk to companies and business owners, especially about insurance, they're kind of, well, let's go over subsection A of paragraph 18, and they're trying to address all these things, and most people's eyes glaze over.
Yeah, mine just did when you said
subsection as a word.
That triggered it.
That is a trigger word, isn't it?
Amendment. Policy.
Yeah, so there's
anything with a point in it, like 5.2.
Yeah, you start getting into that, and that's where people get into a lot of trouble. And by the way, that's why a lot of companies are not insured properly.
Yeah, right.
Which is where, shameless plug here. That's where Brush Creek Partners
You're allowed to
be
plug.
Really good.
Plug away.
Shameless, anyways. But that's where Brush Creek is really good, because they're going to make sure that you understand, hey, here's why you do or don't need this piece. And here's how we're going to help you make sure that you're insured in the right way.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty unique that the accelerator is being run by an independent broker. And so we have that ability to go directly to Travis or to our team for product feedback. And aside from that, we have the Tech Assure network and we have the other agencies just ready to beta test and, give these founders the answers that they need.
And there's actually, then beta testing is one thing. The best testing is model testing. And that's like a beta could be with anyone. The model test is the actual hands-on use, like an end user, a real type client, which for a lot of startups is hard to get. Yeah. Because people are like, well, if it doesn't work out, I don't have time for that, which is also a reasonable thing to say from the business. Yep. But if you get that model test data, you're in good shape because it prevents you from overbuilding. And it also gives you that direct line of sight of people saying, hey, and I say the overbuilding part's important because when you're a startup, you have finite resources, you have finite bandwidth, and you're trying to get into a state of revenue growth. That model test and that capacity will help you focus on the things that truly generate revenue.
Yep.
And you'll know it right away because it'll sound like an echo. They will say the same thing. So say it's not doing this. It's not doing this. It's not doing this. Okay, well, clearly that's something we should address. Yeah. You also have to be careful for the wolf in sheep's clothing, which a lot of people you can't chase everything that people ask for. Yeah. And, just because someone says, oh, and you're like, oh, yeah, it would be cool if we did that. Is that going to bring me users? Is it going to keep me users? Yeah. And if the answer to either of that is no, you might want to go down to the next item on the list and see if you get a yes. Yeah.
So actually on that subject, Matt, so for you guys, when you're sitting down and talking to a founder and they've got all these grand plans and, hey, here's these 96 cool features that we want to put in there. What is your process kind of internally to walk through it and say, you know what, we need to strip a few of these things out?
Well, we don't really do that with our clients. So at full scale, what we do, so in the United States, there's currently 350,000 unfillable tech jobs. We don't have the people to do them. So what we do is and the reason that the LaunchKC Accelerator is really good for us as well, because we typically run into these businesses that need to scale rapidly.
Right.
And there are people like Brush Creek or someone that wants to write them a big check. And then reality kicks in. So if you get a $2 million check from a VC and they don't want to hear about your 18-month hiring plan, they want you to light a fuse and go to the moon now. Mm-hmm. So what we do is we make it really quick and affordable to hire a team of dedicated software experts that all exist in our office in Cebu City in the Philippines. Mm-hmm. And then you get full transparent access to them. They work for you at that point. Yeah. But we take care of recruiting, assessing, retaining, and employing.
Oh, okay.
So it's like a turnkey. It's kind of like what Travis did with our policy, so we take that same approach. Like we sit down and say, hey, now we do give a lot of advice. Now in that case, we just because we've had a lot of experience doing this ourselves, we sit down and say, certain things like, I don't know, man, it's so different across the scope, but this is what I don't necessarily care I don't have to believe in your business model to help you at full scale. So I don't spend too much time getting sold on that. Now, on the flip side, Full Scale's also invested $750,000 in the last 12 months in software companies. Now on that's a different approach. Yeah. Now with that, I'll sit down and I'll say, okay, what's your path to revenue? And if they give me a 96 feature list at that, then I'm taking a different approach. And then I'm saying, what's going to get you to market and help you generate revenue fast? And the term 96 immediately makes me think, are we trying to be good at 96 things? And while we're doing that, are we a triple plus at one?
Yeah.
And that's the general advice. And so I know that was kind of a long answer on that. It's a different approach for different reasons, but you need to be good, like brilliantly good at the basics before you try to do like a whole bunch of other stuff. And that's a common mistake that people make. They're trying to develop, quote, 6 features at the same time. Do 1 or 2 of them and be like aces.
Yeah, I talk all the time about perfect is the enemy of done.
Yeah.
And so it's real easy, especially in tech projects, to get stuck in oh man, but I just did this, and you know what else we could do?
There's no
man,
such
let's try
thing
that.
as perfect.
You know what? Yeah, it doesn't exist. You can't get anything.
And there's no such thing as finished when it comes to software as a service.
No, of course not.
That's a huge red flag for me when I talk to people. They're like, when this is done, I'm like, man,
well,
let's talk for a second.
Yeah, there's a vaporware conversation there that, I mean, obviously you can have a product that works that's just not, it doesn't have all the bells and whistles.
But the point is if you're trying to start a software company or a software services as software as a service company, and you think that you're going to quote be done, you're wrong. I'm sorry, you're just wrong. Because what happens if you do actually get a user base? Are you still done? Do you think that they're just going to want to sit there with your with your rapidly depreciating? Because here's the thing: is if you do actually gain traction and you have users, you've also sent up a signal flare to other people that are like, look at what we're doing well, and your competition will catch up to you.
Iterate.
Yeah, the idea that you're ever done, that's a huge. Now at full scale, that's a huge red flag. I don't want you as a client. If that's the case, because we're also set up to do full-time service. So who's going to take care of this when you're done? Because it ain't going to be us if you give your team back. If they go and work for a different client, they're on that person's team now. Can't just go pluck them away from someone else and be like, hang on, I know you're working on your stuff, but I got to go take care of this guy that didn't know what he was doing. So that's advice that is maybe priceless.
Yeah. Well, and so I have a lot of history of putting on conferences and that sort of thing. And those extremely stressful, crazy, chaotic types of events that you get involved with. But most of the stress would come down to, the week before the event, you're thinking, oh, I want to do this and this and this. And you think of all these amazing things that you can do that are going to really impact the audience. And at the end of the day, you get there, you do the conference, and whatever happens, happens. The audience never knew what my original intent was.
Yeah.
And so that was always my saving grace that, look, I may have had all these other amazing plans in mind, but they didn't happen. But the audience doesn't know any different.
I worked in the music industry for almost a decade, and I still know a lot of people that perform in front of large crowds. And the rule is, it's like if you make a mistake, you just keep going. Because you might know it, but the likelihood that everyone in the crowd knew is minimal, and you just keep rocking. And it's Vic Wooten, famous bass player. He's like, what do you do when you play a wrong note? You keep playing notes until you play the right ones. You just like eventually got to get back there. So, so Alex, how long have you've been with Brush Creek for a while?
Not too long. I actually just started with Brush Creek in November. Previously, though, I was doing some intern work for them when I was in school. So I was in there as a marketing intern, but just recently started full time in November.
So is your history with them in a marketing capacity?
Yes, I would say so.
It's about as competitive as it gets for marketing stuff. Insurance.
Yeah.
It's up there.
Although, Alex, you should at least inform him what you did for a few years after college.
I played 2.5 years as a professional golfer post college. So
don't go play golf with you.
Do come play golf with me if you need a partner.
Oh, I'll keep.
Yeah, he's the ringer.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say
I'm the ringer for the scramble. So.
Oh man, So my dad is an avid golfer, and he's almost 80, and he still beats me. Which, like, my whole entire life, because I played other sports, was totally disheartening. I'm like, God,
it's a humbling game.
Yeah, it really is. And the thing is and let's take a second and talk about that, because golf is very humbling. So I played baseball, which is also humbling for some of the similar reasons.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you hit a ball really hard and it's just right at someone. And then sometimes you hit it off the end of the bat and it squirts down the right field line. And they're like, yeah, I got a triple. You're like, but I would have rather hit the ball hard. And golf is that same certain uncontrollable things. You can't help it if there's a rock on the green and your ball hits it and skips the other way, even though that might have been a decent shot.
Yeah, so. I mean, it's ever changing every single time you play golf, and I think that's probably what brings a lot of people back. Is that it could be the same course from the same set of tees but the weather changes and somehow the conditions change. Or you hit a rock or you get a bad lie.
So what's something about golf or professional golf that you have taken to I don't want to say a real job, but to your real job?
Yeah, it's definitely dealing with adversity. kind of, taking the punches as they come and rolling with it. Whether it's as simple as traveling for golf across the world, across the country, you're always going to have bumps in the road on that. And that's going to be the same with an accelerator or with any other business. And so I feel like I've adapted to that and pretty flexible and just dealing with adversity.
When I talk to, I mentioned I know quite a few musicians, and I've known a few professional athletes. They value the practice, the practice and the routine part of it, and being prepared. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned earlier talking like on a demo day or something like that, like practice. Practice. People are like, hey, Matt, you're a great salesperson. Yeah, I put a lot of practice.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of practice, a lot of thought, a lot of repetition, and a lot of refinement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think specifically with athletes like Alex, I've worked with dozens and probably hundreds of pro athletes, more specifically around helping them transition to a post-playing career and kind of leveraging that amazing experience that they had in the NFL or the NBA or whatever into business opportunities and other things like that. To me, what it really comes down to that is extremely applicable for anybody in the entrepreneurial space, it really is the mental strength.
Yeah.
Because you are going to get hit with all kinds of adversity. And what I love about athletes, guys like Alex, guys like, a lot of the NBA and NFL players, I mean, they messed up constantly, but they kept going.
You have to have a short memory.
You got to just let that stuff go immediately.
One of our favorite quotes on Startup Hustle is from Mike Tyson, where he says, everyone had a plan until they got punched in the face.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing is, as an entrepreneur or startup founder, the bell rings and then you get punched in the face. Yep. It's not like you don't get to dance or you don't get to go Floyd Mayweather and run around and dodge punches. Like, it's coming. Like the fist, and if it doesn't hit you right after the bell, brother, it's on the way.
It's coming.
It is on the way. It'll test all your strength, all your fortitude. And you talk about, there's a lot of people that have been great athletes and performers, but they have that problem. You get shook.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's, like the reason I suck at golf is because I'm good on 13 holes. And then and by the way, I trimmed 10 strokes off my game when I just quit caring because I was like, you know what? I don't care. Yeah. I don't care. And then I wasn't like upset or frustrated that I hit one off into the woods, and I'm a big kid and I can hit the ball a long way. So if it didn't go straight, I'm probably not finding it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
Yeah. A big thing for me was like just not being able to not being afraid to fail.
Yeah.
If you're nervous on the first tee in front of 1,000 people, don't be afraid to snap hook it into the trees. Like, you still got, 60 some more shots.
I think in that level, you could at least live knowing that you're still better than 99% or more of the people watching, but it doesn't make it feel any better. By the way, the not being afraid to fail is an important thing for a startup founder and an entrepreneur, because I've really made my living by trying 10 things and hoping one worked.
Yeah.
And I'd say hoping, and you just keep trying stuff. And then you find a horse that wants to race, and you get moving, and, sometimes that works out and sometimes it doesn't, but and now some people I know a lot of entrepreneurs that take the exact opposite approach. They're like, I'm going to be laser sharp on one thing. I have ADD, man. That ain't going to work for me. Mm-hmm. It's not. Yeah. It's just not me. So I like doing a lot of different things and trying a lot of different stuff. But then you got to pick and choose, like, well, as an athlete or other, I would think as a golfer too, because if you're not on the main PGA tour, you got a whole lot of different events you can pick and different stuff. And where are they? How much does it cost to do this and do that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and, again, just kind of jumping back onto the mental strength side of things. I've also coached a ton of professional speakers, and like, how do you present in front of groups and all that sort of thing.
That's probably tougher than golf or other things.
It is really tough.
People aren't usually all right. So public speaking is the biggest fear.
Yeah, it's the biggest fear.
Not playing golf.
Yeah. And
and not Mike Tyson.
Yeah. And the funny thing about getting up and giving a speech, the thing that most people don't realize is that in reality, 99% of the audience is thrilled that they're not up in front of the stage. So they are going to give you a ton of credit just for having been up there. Yep. So just the fact that you
that's a really tough thing to coach too. So my wife is one of those people that does not like speaking in front of crowds. Mm-hmm. I'm not. I don't, and I do it a lot.
Yep.
for audiences of sometimes small to a lot. And my wife literally feels like physically ill watching me.
Oh, yeah.
In certain cases. And then she gave up on this part, but for a year she'd be like, are you going to practice? Are you going to prepare? Are you going to write a speech? I'm like, no, I'm going to write 5 words down on a piece of paper and I'm going to go up there and figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's terrifying to her. Now, that's not the preparation that most people would want, but for me, I've learned that that's all it takes.
Yeah.
And that's a good fit for me.
But most of the fear, and look, some people, like, they've got the gift of gab. I love speaking in front of groups. It's just fun. That's not how the majority of the world looks at it. But it is an opportunity to really recognize that at the end of the day, whatever nerves or fear or anxiety or whatever else is attached to that moment is 100% mental.
Oh, yeah.
It's in your head.
Yeah. Most of the time people are like, I feel like everyone sees how nervous I am. They don't.
They have no clue. Like,
and quite honestly, they're probably not even paying attention. So if that helps you feel better.
Yeah. Well, and that's
we're
one of the
really,
other things.
The human psyche is really programmed to make us feel like everyone's watching.
Yeah.
And I've even talked to people that had just, all right, so I traveled for business. I'm sure you got into this for both you guys. You know, when you travel for business or at all, you travel by yourself. So you learn to eat meals and do shit by yourself quickly.
Yeah.
People are like, I don't want to go by myself. I'm like, why? And I feel like everyone's looking at me. Trust me, they're not. We are so self-absorbed. Are you looking at everyone else there? Because you're not. So.
Yeah. Well, and that all starts in, grade school and middle school and every kid, like so much of children's anxiety. I have 4 kids, so I'm not an expert, but I've got a degree in psychology.
4 kids will generate a lot of anxiety, actually. Is that where you're going with that?
Well, that's a separate discussion. I'm not going to talk about the fact that having children is a horrible investment.
Maybe. It depends. I'm already training mine to actually to work at my business.
Okay.
So
well, then that you could have a payback there. I'm not seeing a payback. My kids are amazing, and I love them, but kids start with that perception of, oh man, everybody else is talking about me and thinking about me, and every other kid is walking around saying the exact same thing. Everyone is looking at me and talking about me and thinking about me, and nobody is talking about anybody else or thinking about anybody else because they're so focused on themselves.
Yes,
and so. But that's, again, kind of tying this back into the entrepreneurial world, like that's the challenge for most business owners. Are you capable of removing yourself from the equation for a minute? And let's talk about, what does your team think about it? What do your customers think about it? Is this product really doing what you want it to do? Is it going to actually generate whatever lifestyle or whatever you're trying to build? Is it actually going to do that? Or do you need to pivot? And do you have enough of an egoless approach that you're willing to pivot? Because so many entrepreneurs get stuck in, well, this is my baby. And so I love my baby. My baby's great. And everyone else is like, your baby's ugly.
The baby's always ugly in the beginning too.
Oh, totally.
Now, speaking of babies that aren't ugly, is the trophy that I'm about to hang up, because I am going to probably beat Alex at something here. It's Mixtape the Game.
Okay, bring it.
This is where I'm a tour champion.
Okay, bring it.
So mixtapethegame.com. You can also download the app on iOS or Android. I've pulled a card out of the mixtape deck. I'm going to read a scenario. We're going to name a song that comes to mind. There are really no wrong answers here. And then we're going to vote for a winner. You cannot vote for yourself. The first song you knew you would get in trouble for listening to. And I'm going to go with Straight Outta Compton by NWA, which also shows how old I am.
Yeah. Well, and I think I'm older than you are.
And I did get in trouble for listening to that song. So that's a real life play there.
I think I'm going to go Back in Black by AC/DC.
Okay. So
I'm going back even further.
Okay.
Yeah. You know who AC/DC is, Alex?
I do, but I'm about to say one. Do you know who this is? I'm going to go ahead and say Smack That by Akon. I would run to the radio to turn it down when a cuss word would come up, and then I'd turn it back up right after he'd say
I was in trouble from my parents. Now, for when NWA came out, I was in like 9th grade. And that was when the explicit label and all that. And things got kind of nasty. That's when 2 Live Crew came out. But I remember getting in trouble for listening to that. And that's when cassettes were still available as a single. Yeah. Okay. I'm voting for Alex.
I am too.
All right. I had a feeling that. Well, the dude just knows how to win. All right. We're going to let you fire the money gun. 1 golden money gun.
Just pull the trigger?
Or? Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory, my friend.
Yeah, it's a gun.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
Make it rain.
Drain that thing, man. Drain it. There we go.
All right.
$2 bill.
Hey, we're going
well
to
played.
Chick-fil-A.
Well played. If you want to see Alex firing the Golden Supreme Money Gun, you can find that video on the @Startup Hustle podcast Instagram, or you can go to the Startup Hustle YouTube channel and see, and you can make the decision whether or not we have faces made for radio.
I do.
We're going to let the listeners decide.
Yeah.
So we end episodes of Startup Hustle by doing what we call the Founders Freestyle, but I'm going to pivot that a little bit because we were just talking about pivoting. Now I'm assuming both of you have had some involvement in selecting the companies, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So let's do this. We'll give each of us will give a small piece of advice on either how or how not to get selected for a startup accelerator. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to go ahead and say this one because our peers told this to us from the get-go, and that was don't be an asshole. So
good advice.
Yeah. I think when we're selecting companies and talking to them on the phone, that's going to be a key one that will pop in our head. And, are they going to be coachable and workable, or are they so self-absorbed that, they're not going to really benefit from what we're doing?
I think don't be an asshole is sometimes just good advice.
It's good life advice.
Yeah.
But, and go ahead.
Yeah. No, he took the first one that popped into my head because, we've talked a lot about the fact that at the end of the day, if you're going to spend 90 days with these guys and gals, you better like them at least reasonably. So in terms of the actual application process and everything else, at the end of the day, I'd go back. This is not about being perfect. Okay, this is about being able to communicate a good idea that has a potential. Like for us, we're looking for people who have an MVP, seed to Series A, like we talked about, that can scale up to about $1 million in sales in the next 12 months. If you meet those basic criteria, give it a shot. Going back, don't be afraid to fail is kind of what I think what I'd land on. Put this thing out there because you never know. I mean, that I would argue that the opportunities for the applicants that actually get chosen for the cohort are incredible. And there's tons of stuff like, we can talk about a lot of the cool things that we're doing, but over the long haul, companies that go through accelerators experience far higher levels of success.
Oh, yeah. For a lot of different reasons.
They get accelerated. There's a reason we use that word. They're going to, in 3 months' time, they're going to advance probably 12 to 18 months. And so don't be afraid to fail. Like there's a lot of people out there that are kind of, man, I don't know if this idea is good enough or, but if it's in the category and it meets the basic criteria, give it a shot. Like don't be afraid to fail because that's a critical piece.
I've got a little add-on before I go, but I've got a little add-on to what you said. So I recently did a keynote address in Cebu to a class of 400 graduating computer science students. And their theme was aspire to inspire. But one of the key thing I said at the end was there's a lot of things. So as a graduate, congratulations, you got a lot of decisions to make. Some things you can control, some things you can't. The one thing you definitely can control is your attitude. Mm-hmm. And, you say, don't be an asshole or be workable. Like that's the thing. Because the most exciting things in business occur with teams and around growing companies. They're not just solo you forever. And really in the end, you're going to shortchange yourself on a lot of opportunities if you have a shitty attitude. And no one wants to, like you said, like I'm going to spend 75 days with these people. Like, are you wearing me out on day 2? Because how am I going to feel 2.5 months in?
Yeah.
So I think that's great advice. My advice on this is in the vein of being prepared. I say this a lot, but you need to really and truly look like you're in the business of doing whatever it is that you say you do. And, I've had some, I always, this kind of my fallback and, sometimes I'll go and give a presentation and then afterward I'll have someone that wants to give me information about their business. which is fine. I encourage that. That's great. But don't give me your pitch deck or whatever for a .com, and you want me to email you at your Yahoo email address. Because you could have a brilliant idea on the other side of that cover, but I'm never going to see it. Because the thing is if you're trying to pitch, whether it's for investment or to get in an accelerator or whatever, look, man, you're not special yet. You're one of a whole lot of people that are trying to get the exact same thing. And these little things will get you unnoticed in a hurry, because I'm looking at a stack of 100 business plans here, and they're all 50 pages long. And that's all of a sudden, that's a hell of a lot of paper. And are you doing something that's going to make the recipient of that just immediately say next?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that simple example is one thing. But another thing too is that in that same vein is, especially from an investment thing, is I hate it when people are like, yeah, I'd like to talk to you about investing in the company. And they come in and we sit down and we talk. I'm like, well, what valuation? What are you looking for here? And they're like, well, I don't really know yet. Then why the fuck are you here? Do you want me to define that for you? Because I'll give you $1 for half. How about that? Let's start there. And, there you go. Let you fire the money gun and whatever you catch before it hits the ground. But my point is you don't look like you're in the business of doing what you're there to do. And if that's pitch an accelerator, you need to sell them on your big dream.
Yeah. Yeah.
Show up and say, this is why we crush. And I'm here to be partnered with you. Now, my final statement as support of this is, so in the previous cohorts, I talked to all the people in clean tech, and I talked to all the people in health tech. And I said, what really made you want to do this? Almost universally, they said, well, the 50K is great, but what's really awesome is that we're partnered with Black & Veatch or Newterra Capital. It's the expertise. It's not forget the money. Yeah. It's what those people can do for you, and they can shorten the life cycle of a sale. They can open doors for you. They can do a hell of a lot of stuff. And that's also why you shouldn't be an asshole.
Yeah.
Right?
And exactly. You know what? There's one other little piece that I have to add to what you said. 100% agree with you. When it comes to actually presenting your information and being committed and doing all the things you just talked about there, spell words correctly, use proper punctuation.
It's the little things, man.
Because I'm a bit of a grammar Nazi. Like I notice stuff that is jacked up. I notice when you have run-on sentences.
Do you care? That just tells me you don't really care.
Yeah. Do you care enough? Because our process it's not that involved. It's about 24 questions, I think, some of which are yes or no. And we're not looking for, you don't have to write a book to apply. You have to write a couple, 3 sentences.
And by the way, I think that's great advice too, because I don't want to see your 50-page document. Yeah. I don't. If you can't fit everything that you want to tell me on the front of one piece of paper, then
your idea is not baked yet.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's the importance. Like, I have actually in the past spent more time making a freaking amazing one-pager than the 47 pages that came behind it. Because you talk about it's back. You have to consider the state of mind and the situation of the recipient. And when you're looking at 100 of these things in front of you, you're like, dude.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. I'll be like, get to the point.
Well,
I've actually stopped people in presentations. I'm like, okay, you got 3. I need you. Where are we going with this? Because we're 18 minutes in and I don't even know what you do.
Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, if you've got a 50-page document, the real problem for the investor, for people on the other side of the table, is all they're really looking for initially is why not to invest.
Yeah, that's my point.
So you put those 50 pages in there. Like, there's going to be 74 different reasons why they don't like it.
No one wants to see your 50-page document up front. So, well, anyway, I'm going to get back to practicing golf, so I don't have to bring Alex in for as a ringer. But I think I'm going to invite you guys back. I know, because I want to talk about some of the companies that are involved, and then we can. And now, by the way, one of the things that we also do is anyone in these cohorts we invite in as a guest, which, by the way, is interesting because there's been more excitement about that than the 10 grand.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. See y'all next time.